Hello. Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and it's so great to see everybody here. You guys don't see me do a ton of these interviews anymore, but today I made an exception, and you'll know why in a second. Now, we've talked about the brilliance that we have when it comes to starting businesses. We talked about the brilliance that we have when it comes to the sciences. There are thousands of amazing Black doctors and lawyers and everything else out here. Well, this brother is someone that you really want to know about. His name is Akili Henson, correct? Did I say that right? Okay. And he is the founder and CEO of Juno Medical. Juno Medical is a company I'm going to let Akili tell you about, because if I start talking about it, I'm going to mess it up. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome my brother Akili. How you doing today, man?
Good. Thanks for having me, Boyce.
Yeah, brother. I'm glad you're here. So Akili is out of New York. So shout out to everybody from New York. Shout out, put the name of your city in the chat and put your hashtag B1 in the chat, because we know that we are Black first here on this platform, and we don't apologize for it. Ain't nothing wrong with being Black. Ain't nothing wrong with being smart. So smart and Black is what we do. So Akili, all right. So first thing I want to start with, man, is is it my imagination, or did I see on your bio that you went to Columbia University?
I went to Columbia for business school.
Okay. Now what'd you do undergrad?
Georgetown.
Georgetown. Okay, nice schools. Yeah. Well, my goddaughter, who's pretty much my daughter, she actually went to Columbia. So, so I know Columbia. Yeah, and I actually I got accepted to Columbia for my doctoral work, and I did not go, and it was a regret that I had. I like this. I like the school I went to, but I think at that time, being 27, moving to New York was kind of, from Kentucky is like overwhelming, and I said, man, I ain't got no money, but yeah, that's cool. Okay. So where are you from?
I grew up in New York, actually, about like 25 minutes outside of the city.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Westchester, New York.
Westchester. Okay. I know Westchester.
You know, Westchester, White Plains.
Yeah. Well, I was actually engaged to an awesome Black attorney that actually grew up in Westchester.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, that was not very nice lady. Now my wife obviously is, she's the creme de la creme, but my ex-fiance was a good person. I have nothing negative to say about her at all. But so tell me this. So you okay, so Georgetown undergrad, what you studying undergrad?
I was pre-med with a major in economics.
Really? Okay. Pre-med with a major in economics. Interesting. Now, what was your thought in terms of what you had planned to do with that particular degree combination back then?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I wanted to become a doctor ever since I was in third grade. Actually, it's my grandmother she might have been the first, because it's going back a while, but she was either the first or one of the first Black nuclear medicine technicians in the entire country.
Whoa, nuclear medicine?
Yeah, so she kind of instilled. So she was working with doctors every day. She really respected them, and she kind of instilled in me at a very young age. Like she's like, "I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be a doctor." And then I had the opportunity to meet some of the colleagues that she worked with. My third grade teacher's husband was actually a physician, and so I'd been saying that I wanted to be a doctor like from when I was in elementary school. And so when I got to Georgetown, I was pre-med like bio, pretty much like everybody else. That's probably like the start where I knew I was going to have a little bit of a different career than most physicians, because I switched to an economics major in my sophomore year at Georgetown. And so like the idea that I had was I knew that I was going to learn all the science, but I always felt like there was something either about like the operations or the business side that they just didn't want me to know about. Like they wanted to kind of be like a good, beautiful, pre-med student. And I was like, man, I want to kind of understand like what's going on with the business side as well. So that's why I decided to still keep the pre-med concentration, but to focus on economics.
Well, and that's a big deal, because I've seen so many doctors that start their own practice and know nothing about the business side, and then the practice ends up dying. So that's an interesting. And then and the thing is, I don't know if you feel this way or not, but and my sister's a medical doctor, and shout out to all the doctors that are watching. But it seems to me that sometimes when we're kids, we pick a major that sounds good to our parents. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're a straight A student, it's like you're going to be a doctor or lawyer or an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
That's it,
Mm-hmm.
and we pick those professions without necessarily always knowing, number one, what the other options are,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then number two, whether or not we really want to do that shit. I mean,
Yeah.
like my sister became a doctor. She's like, I don't really like all that blood and guts. And all that. I'm saying, well, you picked the wrong profession. So it was primarily like the influence of the people before you that kind of led you to say, okay, this is the path I want to go down.
Mm-hmm.
When you started finding yourself and kind of shifted, is that correct?
That shifted my major, but like I am a doctor, right? So I trained. I was planning to become a cardiothoracic surgeon, actually. So I went to medical school here in New York City at Cornell. I was in my surgery residency, training to become a lung cancer surgeon, and that's when I actually went to business school in the middle of my surgical training. So that's when I was at Columbia.
So you went to business school in the middle of your surgical training. Did
Mm-hmm.
you do that with the intention of becoming a surgeon with an MBA or something, or were you planning to switch out, or what was the plan with that? What was the thought process?
I was planning to kind of address the issue that you talked about, which is, a lot of doctors don't really understand the business side of things. And so it was almost the same experience and like set of like what I was seeking in undergrad when I switched to econ. It's like I felt like there were some things that they just didn't want me to know about, boys. And so they kind of wanted me to go into a basic science like research lab. And I told them, I was like, I don't really want to do that. I'd like to go to business school instead. And so like, that is what prompted me to go to Columbia for my business education.
So when you say that's what prompted you to get your business education, what prompted you to be prompted in the first place? Like what sparked that initial curiosity with business? Did it just come to you, or was there somebody who said, hey, make sure you understand the business side? Like how did that go about?
It's a great question. A lot of it is intrinsic, like I have this, I kind of get obsessed with being able to understand things. And like, if I feel like I don't understand it, it's something that I can't let go. And so one of the things that I could not understand is like this is right in New York City, on the Upper East Side of Cornell, 2008, 2009, they still had us carrying like pagers, right? Like a beeper, right? If you remember those.
Wow. And what year was this?
This was like 2009. Right, it just didn't. It didn't. And there were little things like that, and the thing that really didn't make sense to me is that I clearly saw once I started practicing medicine is when it became crystal clear to me that we actually have two different healthcare systems in this country. Right, there's one if you are Black, brown, and poor, and then there's a health system for everybody else, and so. A significant like part of my family, right, is in that system, right? The system that you don't want to be in. And as I kind of sat and like took care of all these well-heeled patients on the Upper East Side, it was something that I felt like I needed to understand why, right? Like, why is it that I can provide like the best like quality care that you can find on the planet, like myself. But when a family member calls me who lives in North Carolina, I'm like struggling to find anyone who will even see them because they have Medicaid as their insurance company, right? And so like that was the trigger for me wanting to understand, right, the things that I felt like they didn't want to make plain for me.
Wow. Well, everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with Akili Henson. He's the CEO and founder of Juno Medical. If you all could, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, just as a precursor, I'll mention more about it in a second, but Akili is coming to visit in the Black Business School to talk about his new venture. He's been raising a ton of capital, and he wants to let you all know how to be involved if that's of interest to you. And if you want to know more about it, just go to boycewatkins.com. I put a link right there on my website, right at the top, and you can join the event. It's totally free to come to, and you get a chance to kind of hear more about what Akili's working on. This is a smart brother, and I hope you all will take a look at what he's got going on. So Akili, let me ask you this then. So I find that intriguing that you mentioned that you saw the disparity, you saw the other side of the fence. That's what a lot of, what happens. I notice with a lot of revolutionary types that do things that are just innovative and different. Going all the way back to say, Toussaint Louverture and the Haitian Revolution, it tends to start with being exposed to ideas that they don't want you to have, or seeing things that you weren't supposed to see. Mm-hmm. And then you say, wait a minute, the good food is in the back. I want my people to, like they exposed Toussaint to freedom. He read all about the French Revolution and all these values, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He's like, well, why can't I have that? Right. And I remember being at Syracuse University, and I was on the faculty, and I was teaching a lot of really smart people that were mostly not Black. And they were going to Wall Street making a ton of money. And they knew, and there was all this stuff we were teaching them. I said, okay, my people need to know this too, right? But they can't afford $70,000 a year in tuition to go to Syracuse, right? Yep. So I like where this is going. So tell me how that journey has been for you. I mean, how's that been, trying to help people see your vision in terms of what you wanted to do with Juno, who you wanted to serve, and why? I mean, was it seen as radical? Was it welcome? Was it fully supported? I mean, how did that go for you?
A lot of no's, still to this day. We've been able to have some significant wins, but so I'll tell you this. The initial story is that we were selected to be a part of a fantastic startup residency here in New York City called Grand Central. Like companies that have gone on to raise like hundreds of millions of dollars in capital. But we started, our first day was, I think, January 8th of 2020, right before a little thing called the pandemic that happened. And so and then of course, I'll just say one thing, like you said, I'm from New York. I'm from Harlem. I lived in Harlem for over a decade now. And so, that's like my community. So like we're outside, we are in like real New York. But I would say, I came to this crazy idea, and I was like, I want to open a modern doctor's office that uses technology, that provides folks with great hospitality, that like is open to everyone, and we in particular want to be in neighborhoods and communities where like people who look like me and people who look like the rest of this country live. And people were like, oh, that sounds nice. Why don't you kind of go make it like a nonprofit, right? Or something to that. And I was like, no. I mean, we didn't go through the rest of my background, but like after business school, I spent the majority of my career at McKinsey & Company, right? Which is one of like the leading business institutions in the world, right? Where I served like senior executives at like Fortune 100 companies, and I learned healthcare inside and outside, upside and down. And I told them, I was like, no, like this is a real business opportunity, and it's like it is not a nonprofit, and so like nobody kind of like believed me in the beginning, and so I did what a lot of entrepreneurs did, and like we bootstrapped open our first location in Harlem, New York, like using our own capital, right? So I say it was a Achilles seed, instead of like a seed from investors. And you know what, right? It worked, right? Like surprise, surprise. Like I knew a little bit about what I was talking about, and so we were able to do a couple of things. The pandemic, presented one of the greatest challenges that I've ever faced, like personally in my life. But it also presented one of the greatest opportunities, because like the phenomenon that was taking place is that other doctors' offices were closing down, right? Like people in the Harlem community, they couldn't find healthcare when they needed it most, right? They couldn't find like COVID testing. They couldn't find people who were willing to see them to get like the preventive care that they need or to handle a sick visit. that they need for their mom that they're providing care for. And so when others were kind of closing down, we were opening up, right, and kind of like leading with our values and looking for every opportunity that we can to be perceived as being like not just in the neighborhood, but like really being of the neighborhood. And so like, fast forward, we were able to show like really great data, amazing traction for the business, and we were able to successfully like raise venture capital for it. But I mean, to answer your question in the beginning, it was not well welcomed and well received, right? We were kind of met with the opposite of that, but we persevered, right? Because we knew that what we were doing, A, like was just sound from business standpoint and rock solid, but B, it's the right thing to do, right? And we were kind of like we were leading with our values, which I think if that's kind of the magic, right? If you have a deep understanding of like business and operations and finance, and you're also you also like mission driven and like values led, that's when the magic happens, and that's kind of what we focus on at Juno.
Wow. Well, everybody who just came in, I'm speaking with Akili Henson. He's the CEO and founder of Juno Medical. We're talking about where he is in the startup journey and how he's going to serve our people. He wouldn't be on this platform if he wasn't doing something good for the world. And I hope you all would take a second and support Black-owned media. You can hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. We reach 1 million Black people a week, and we're very proud of that. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com to learn more about what we have going on. And also, don't forget, we have a Black Wealth Conference that's happening on the 22nd of March that you guys can go take a look at. Today's the last day to get a 48% discount. I'm going to cover the 7 steps to creating your own Black Wall Street. I know, Akili, we came up with a term. I realized that the term Black Wall Street might not be enough for what we actually need. I said, because if you think about a Black Wall Street as a space where there's a lot of commerce and a lot of Black faces, I said, well, we've always had that. Slavery was kind of a Black wall. You had Black faces and lots of commerce. I said, no, what we really need is a Black-owned Wall Street. That's where we're the beneficiaries of the economic activity and not the commodity that's actually being traded. Kind of like the NCAA or whatever, right? Or the prison system. I mean, we're a big commodity. And so to your point, I'd like to, and I know we just have a few more minutes because this brother has a hard deadline in 9 minutes, and I'm going to respect his time. So I want to talk about Juno in terms of where you are, and I'm really fascinated by the fact that you were able to get to where you are now in the middle of the pandemic. My God, that must have been horrifying to try to raise money and build this thing in the middle of all this chaos and uncertainty. Tell us about that. Like, what's that been like for you?
It has been one of the most challenging things that I've ever done, right? And like I said, I was like a surgeon in New York City, and then I worked at a rewarding but like very challenging job at McKinsey. But I think the pandemic has complicated things for sure, but on the flip side, it also has served as a catalyst for what it is that we are trying to do. Like, one of the things that I am most proud of is we've been able to activate like so many brothers and sisters who previously were inactive with respect like to getting the healthcare that they need, right? And so like there's a thing so I'll take like Harlem, where our first location opened up. Almost like half of the people who were coming to see us had the same story. Like, I have not been to see a doctor in like over 4 to 5 years, right? And like, shout out, I am a doctor, so I'm gonna get this in to your audience. Like, you do need to see the doctor. It's very important. It is, and I don't care if you go to Juno or someplace else, but like, blood pressure affects us in so many different ways. And like, the interesting thing is like, even that might be rooted to like the transatlantic passage from slavery, like why like we are predisposed to have like higher blood pressure than like some of our other racial and ethnic group counterparts. And that leads to a whole host of complications, like all the things that we talk about like in the community, like sugar diabetes, and stroke and high blood pressure. Like having a relationship like with a doctor that you trust is so important to make sure that we can address those things before the bad stuff happens, right? So we all have grandma and them who unfortunately passed away from like a condition like far too soon. And like to your point about like building wealth in the Black community, boys, like one of the like health is wealth, like having longevity that enables like the generation of more like wealth creating opportunities. And so like to bring it back full circle,
or to add to your point, if you don't take care of your health and you go out, you spend all your time building wealth, you're going to lose all your wealth trying to get your health back.
Exactly.
100%. And then you die at the end of it. So it's you wasted all that time. But go ahead, please, brother. Go ahead.
And I was saying like the story that we heard most was basically thank you, right, for bringing doctors who look like us to our community, right? Like I didn't feel comfortable like going to see any healthcare providers who were around because I didn't feel like they would listen. You talk so boy, interesting. You talk about kind of like Black owned Wall Street. We are opening a Juno location on Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, this year, right? And I was there because I always like to meet and like understand and get to understand the history of a community or any neighborhood before we're so presumptuous as to enter it. And I'll never forget, I was speaking with an older gentleman, and what he said to me, he was like, it's important to have like doctors who look like you. Because if you think about the history of that community, he said, if you go see a doctor who was from like a different ethnic group, I'll put it that way, like you don't know, they could be a member of the Ku Klux Klan, right? How can you trust like the medication that they're giving you, right? That's a quote that he said to me, right? And so whether or not that's true, like just the fact that he perceived it to be that way, what does that mean? It means he's going to be less likely to go see the doctor. He's going to be less likely to kind of get the preventive care that he needs. And so like just by virtue of doing a few things, right? Like creating a modern doctor's office that gives folks like a sense of place, right? A place that they feel like they can belong, that they can bring like their family members to and like refer to their friends to. Providing like what I call like culturally responsive care, right? Even in the Black community, there are different cultures, right? Like our West Indian brothers and sisters have different cultures. Our brothers and sisters from sub-Saharan Africa have different cultures, right? And so like training our medical team to kind of meet people where they are and provide like culturally responsive care is so important to what it is that we do. And then one of the things that's also critical to how we think about like our growth at Juno is that we never want to just set up shop in a neighborhood and say like, hey, y'all just accept us, right? Like what I tell my team is that we are here. We never want to be perceived as just being in the community. We want to be perceived as being of the community. And so like that, like the pandemic has allowed us to show that to people in real time, right? Like to create a place where people feel welcomed and like they see themselves in like the doctors and other members of our medical team that we have providing care for them. And it's been so important and rewarding, but like to answer your question, it's also been like the most challenging thing that I've ever done.
Well, you know what? Well, I'll tell you what, it's almost nothing great gets done without it being a challenge. And it sounds like you're the man that's up for the challenge. And I know we've only got a couple more minutes, but I'd like to know two things. One, how can people find out more about Juno?
Absolutely. You can go to our website. It is www.juno.care. That's .care, not .com. There you can learn all about the services that we offer. You can see like the medical team that we've been so thoughtful in bringing together to provide like culturally responsive care for like the people in neighborhoods that we serve. You can learn more about like what it takes to kind of do the things that are necessary to make sure that you're living your full life. And like, since I'm on Dr. Watkins' platform, I'll say like health is wealth, right? Like you have to be healthy in order to be wealthy. And if you are wealthy but unhealthy, and this is your line, you're going to spend all that wealth trying to get your health back. So you might as well keep it.
There you go. Health, wealth, and relationships. They're all connected.
Yep.
Bad relationships will ruin your health, take all your wealth. Bad wealth will mess up your. It's all connected. So, last question before we bounce out. So, when in the event, and I want everybody to know that Akili is doing a special event with the Black Business School, hosted by my brother Lawrence. If you'd like to hear more directly from him about how to get involved with Juno from an investor standpoint, just go to BoyceWatkins.com. There's a link there. It's totally free. It's going to be on March 10th. And real quick, because I know our time's up, what can we expect in that conversation, from you in terms of how we can get involved, stuff like that?
You can expect to learn more about the mission of Juno and what our values are, what our journey has been to date. I'll also go into a little bit of detail about the business, right? Because this is an investment opportunity, and like understanding the business side of things is critically important. And I think, if we are so honored, right, to have you be a part of our journey, right, then that would also like make me extremely happy, because it speaks volumes, like when the people actually support you, right, and it shows that what we are doing is in fact important to the folks that we are aiming to serve and serve well.
All right, very awesome. Well, everybody, this is Dr. Akili Hinson, correct?
Correct.
I'll make sure. I thought I heard. I was making sure I got all that right. Dr. Akili Hinson, CEO of Juno Medical. Go Google the brother. He's very smart. He's an ally in the community, a leader in the community, no more than an ally. And so check out what he's got going on. And I want to say thank you very much, brother. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Boyce.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. And so anybody who wants to go to the special event where Akili is going to be the guest and learn more about Juno, how to get involved from an investor standpoint, go to BoyceWatkins.com. The link is right there. Also, there's a link to our Black Wall Street conference it's a mini conference. It's going to be on March 22nd. It's going to be virtual. You can find both of those links on BoyceWatkins.com. So everybody hit the thumbs up button before you head on out. God bless you. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you soon. Take care now. Peace.
Thank y'all.